Hello, my name is Alice Black, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the business of being an artist. So this is a series of talk for Art Ultra, and this first series is about presenting yourself online. I've done a cheat sheet with a lot of information that I'm going to go through on this video, so don't forget to check the link in the description to download it. The first talk in the Presenting Yourself Online series is aimed at those who are just starting out on social media. But before we start, don't forget to sign up on the Art Ultra website, where there's a lot of information for artists. We give a roundup of opportunities for grants, for commissions, for exhibitions, and this is available to you for free. But to do this, I have invited a close friend of mine who's a fantastic PR, and let me bring her on and introduce herself. Ryoko, do you want to say a few words?
Hi there, yeah, delighted to be here today chatting with you. Just a bit of an intro on me. So we obviously met at the Design Museum, and I look after the PR team, but also the social team. So all of the organic social media channels and all of the PR for the Design Museum, so that's in the UK and also internationally. My background is in PR, and I've been doing it for about 6-7 years, and I also have a degree in public relations, which yes is a degree. Many people think it doesn't exist, but it does. So yeah, I've been doing this quite a long time, and I have worked in a couple of agencies in Parliament, and then headed over to the Design Museum.
Wonderful. So Ryoko, first things first, before we try and map out all the social media platforms available to artists, I'd like to ask you a question. My question is simple. Should artists have a website?
Yes, it's a simple answer. I would say the way I look at websites, especially for artists, for people, for freelancers, I think for anyone, is that it's essentially your online portfolio. So it's where you're able to showcase your work, introduce and direct people to sort of one place. It's also great to capture data. So I think it's a whole host of benefits from having a website. Myself just created a website for my online portfolio for the work that I've done. And I think that it's something you can create quite easily. You can do it quite affordably, but it also is that touch point for people when they want to find out more about your work, more about you as a person. It's like a kind of funkier CV, I would say, for all of your work. So yes, definitely on my side, I would say it's worth having.
And I couldn't agree more. I think you have to think about a website as a repository of information, where you put all the information about you, about your artwork, and essentially then you're going to be playing a big game of ping pong, where you're going to be posting some information on a social media platform and you send people back to your website to find out more. So it's really the stepping stone to the whole infrastructure of how you present yourself online. To give you an idea of costs, I set up the Art Ultra website and it cost me £200. It's set up on Wix, and Wix is a website builder, but it offers also domain hosting and an email attached to your domain. So £200. All of the platforms, I would say, are a bit much of a muchness in terms of website. That's the order of magnitude of what you have to spend. It's not insignificant, but it's really well worth the spend. So now we've established that, let's move on to social media platforms. There's a lot of different platforms. Ryoko, can you give us a little canter through the various platforms and how to use them most effectively?
Yeah, of course. So I think there's quite a lot of platforms. They change constantly, as you know. We've kind of got some of the slightly older classics and then the new platforms. To kind of give it a run through, I guess, of what everyone would be familiar with. I'll start with Instagram, and I would say that this is it's primarily like a visual content platform. Often it's a primary channel for a lot of people, especially if you have artwork to present, you have visual content. I think that sits quite nicely on Instagram. You've got Twitter, which I would say is more, news related. It's topical, things trend, you can join conversations. I would say it's slightly less visual, but it's still a great place to get involved with wider conversations. Facebook is again a predecessor for Instagram. Obviously the two are connected, but it's a great place for conversation. I feel like Facebook provides you with a little bit more conversation than you would necessarily get on Instagram at times. We then have LinkedIn. I think this is a great platform to reach industry professionals. So I think people potentially underestimate how useful LinkedIn is. I think, you can have a standard profile, you could have a premium profile, but it's an amazing place to find out people who work in certain companies. So if you need to look for a contact, it's a great place to connect with people, but also to share industry news and kind of, a bit of self-promotion. It's never a bad thing on LinkedIn. So I think, it's good for professionals. It's great to find sponsors and kind of opportunities like that. There's YouTube, which I would say is kind of great for longer form content in some ways. I wouldn't say, hours worth of content on YouTube, but it's great if there's something that you kind of want to have as a slightly longer form. It's also a great place to, host all of your videos if you're going to embed them on a website. It's a great place to direct traffic if you've got that longer form video. And then to quickly kind of touch on, I guess, the slightly newer platforms, there is Snapchat, which is obviously a slightly younger demographic. And then I would say that there is TikTok, which, has an incredible growth rate at the moment. And we're seeing quite a lot of people explode, definitely kind of the Gen Zs, huge use of TikTok. So incorporating that into, your mix is definitely a good option at the moment, I would say. So I think the biggest step in order to have a well-performing profile on I think any platform is to really nail your bio. So thinking about how you can describe yourself in one line, which is a challenge. It's out there, what makes you different. So I think, being very clear about setting your profile up when you start any kind of account. So if we took Instagram for an example, having a handle that is very easy to understand. Does it relate to your name? Is it related to your practice? Is a really great place to start. Is it, easy for people to understand who you are? Then I think next is, using your name. Do you want to go with using your own name, or do you have a different name for your practice? That needs to be very clear at the top of the profile. I would then say you can get away with about 3 very tailored short captions. I would say bullet points in the bio. So I would think about having 2 to 3 very short bullet points in your bio, which describe what you are or what you do. So it could be that you're a contemporary artist. It could be that you are looking at a certain type of practice. It could be that you are having a show coming up. You need to use that bio to highlight, where you are, where you want people to go, and always input either another social media platform that you use in the bio, or put in there your website so that people can quite easily see your name, 1 or 2 key facts about what you do and who you are, and also then they can click through to find out more about you. So I think setting that up on all of the profiles is key. Something you can include, but you don't have to include. Sometimes people include their locations. So I think if that's something that you would find useful to yourself, useful to the people you're going to go out to, you could also put where you're based in your bio, which kind of just helps people to understand where your studio might be or where you might be working from.
I think that's super helpful. And there's an amazing website, buffer.com, that gives a fabulous roundup of how to create a great bio. We'll put the link in the cheat sheet. Don't forget to download it. It's got all these tips and it really walks you step by step on how to create an amazing bio. This is what is going to hook people to your profile and hopefully transform them into a passive audience, into a follower. Give us a little sense of, the big question is, how often should you post on these platforms? What's the kind of time in the day that you should post? What are the rules of thumb and the practical tips here that you can give us?
Yeah, so I think learning to kind of navigate through the different platforms and work it out, there's a certain amount of testing and giving it a go, but there's also some very easy, I think, hacks to kind of help those things. I know that there's a cheat sheet that we're going to have, which will kind of detail this after, for people to download. But I think for me, there's some really key questions. It's also, as well as the time of day, it's the things like, where is your audience based? So which audience are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach, lots of industry professionals who might be best placed on LinkedIn? Or are you trying to grow your profile with people who might buy your work? Or are you thinking, you want to create a visual portfolio? So I think for me, as well as the times of day, it's also where is your audience based? Where do they look for their content? What do they want to do? And then I think working from that. And I think looking at what your competition does is a great place to start. So, where does your competition have a social profile? What kind of things do they do? Are they successful? Do you think you could perform better, or are they doing an incredible job and you kind of want to follow similar steps? So for me, in terms of times of day, I would say less is more to start with. I think lots of people worry about pumping out tons of content. I think being slightly considered, owning your channel. There's some very, very simple things I would say for Instagram. The times to post tend to be, definitely at the Design Museum. And I would say for some of the private clients that I also have, it tends to be first thing in the morning or in the evening. And I think that's based on working habits of your audience, and also where your audience are based. So if you have a UK based audience, those times are going to work great for you. I think on Twitter, often we find that the afternoon hours seem to work a bit better, 1 till 3 o'clock. I think that's because, you've got the US waking up, you've got hashtags trending. I think it really kind of comes down to that question of where is your audience that you're trying to reach, and what times of the day are they going to do certain habits. So when you wake up in the morning, do you look at your phone? Do you go on Instagram? Is that the kind of time that you're going to want to be kind of capturing people? So yeah, I would say by rule of thumb, try posting first thing in the morning, try posting, into the early evening. I think that there's certain days of the week that perform slightly better. If everybody's out at the weekend and they're kind of busy doing things, is your content going to perform better in the week? And it's a really simple case of making a note of when posts have performed really well, the time that you've posted them, and thinking, is there a reason for that? And like I said, I think kind of a bit more detailed on the sheet that we're going to provide after this. But yeah, there's definitely some tips and tricks that can help to kind of start your posting and your engagement.
I think that's very useful. And definitely, if you look in the link, you'll find a way to download the cheat sheet, and we'll have all this information readily accessible, so you don't have to memorize it all. So thank you, Ryoko. I think that gives us a great canter through the social media platforms in general. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Art Ultra channel, and join us for the next video.